Welcome in again, everybody, to Coach's Corner on the Auburn Undercover podcast. Before we get started, click like and subscribe below. It helps us out, keeps us in your feed, and helps support our work. And we're joined today, as always, by former Auburn defensive coordinator Ellis Johnson. How we doing today?
Doing pretty good. I told you it's been a rough day today. Everybody that I do these things with on Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, they said they're shutting it down. So everybody's been moving them back. And this is number 3. So hopefully I've done a lot of practice and I'll do a better job than I usually do.
Well, you got another one tonight, right?
Yeah, I got another one this evening. It's not as much of it's kind of a back and forth with Chuck Reedy, if you know Chuck. And we usually critique Clemson and Carolina, but now I don't know what we'll talk about tonight. And I don't know why the guy keeps bringing us on because it was supposed to be a seasonal thing about Carolina and Clemson. So maybe we'll talk about Clemson's bowl. I don't know.
What'd you think of the playoffs?
Well, I mean, the first statement, it's some bad football. I mean, it really is as far as execution, ball security. Some of the things, that you preach and preach and preach and take care of yourself and don't beat yourself. Boy, there was a lot of that. On the other hand, we knew that the 2 teams that got in from the group of 5 were probably going to have a hard time. And a lot of people were frustrated and mad about it. I got no beef with them. They did what the rules said. They did everything and got qualified. And probably they practiced just as hard as anybody else. I was surprised how bad Ole Miss beat Tulane. I thought Tulane had improved over the year. That bad whipping they took on them was way back, I think, second week, possibly. It was early in the season.
Really?
But I'm sure it's probably really distracting for both of those teams when you lose it. You're losing your head coach. And it's always been my opinion. I think Ole Miss was the right thing to tell him to move on. If you're not going to be the coach, you're not coaching the team. I really think Tulane might have made a mistake. John has to be distracted. I mean, my God, he's recruiting one of the major powers in America, and he's up to his neck in that stuff.
Well, he basically said in so many words, he said he was. I mean, he was, and Dan Mullen was talking a little bit about it the other day. He said, when I took the Mississippi State job, he said, in the morning from 7 to 7, I was the offensive coordinator at Florida, and from 7 to 7 that night, I was head coach at Mississippi State.
Yep. You can't help it. I mean, I just think when you take the job, probably need to go. I think it'd probably be easier for an assistant coach to hang on. But I don't know. If I put myself in the shoes of a player, it would distract me. I don't care how much we liked him.
Yeah.
Look at the last one. Alabama, Oklahoma was kind of a flip from the end season. Oklahoma lopsidedly beat them in statistics, but they turned the ball over, a pick 6, and they dropped a punt snap after he'd secured the snap. I mean, just things, that you're just like, gosh, it wasn't. And I'm not criticizing them, but it was more that somebody made a bad play and cost them the game than somebody made a great play and won the game. And then
Alabama
last one would be Miami and Texas A&M. I kind of thought Miami could pull this one off. Ronnie, Texas A&M played 7 of the bottom 9 teams in the SEC this year. They didn't make the schedule, and they didn't, tell everybody how to play this year. So I'm not blaming them, but it's just that's the way it fell for them. So they weren't as good as everybody thought they were, and statistically they were not very good this year defensively. They started doing some effective things on third down. Offensively, they were pretty good, but the Reed kid has got some serious limitations. When you're talking about a national championship playoff caliber quarterback, if you get him a little bit out of his rhythm, get in his way or make him, throw off his back foot or something, his mechanics. I was on with a quarterback coach the other day, and he said his footwork and his shoulder level and all that goes crazy. And I don't even know what shoulder level means, but he throws high. And that's because he gets out of whack and so forth. So I don't know. I don't think I'd bet on all 4 of the teams that had a bye before I'd bet on anybody that won this weekend. Alabama flipped it on them, but I mean, I'm still looking at this. I can't see a team that rushes for 28 yards.
No.
But at the same time, their defense is starting to come around. They got a few kids healthy, and they probably got a better roster than Indiana.
Oh,
I
I
don't,
don't think
I don't see, yeah, I don't see them. I don't think they can beat them. The other one would be Oregon and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is just unbelievable defense, but I don't know if their offense can play at a level to win 2 or 3 games, in the playoffs. We'll see.
Well, in Oregon, they've got SEC caliber players. I mean, but I'm like you. I mean, the thing that jumped out to me was, I talked to one of the coaches at Tulane, and he really felt like, one of their offensive linemen was out when they played Ole Miss. They'd had him back, their best offensive lineman, he said, and they had him back, and they had some other kids that were injured, and really felt good about it. But it didn't, it didn't go real well. And then,
No.
I'm like you. I mean, look, James Madison and Tulane did what they had to do, but I mean, the reality is nobody wants to watch that. I mean, nobody.
Well,
I mean, I cut both of them off.
Well, I fell asleep, on Oregon and didn't realize how much they closed at the second half. They tried to put some backups out there and let them play, and they got pushed around a little bit. But if neither one were good games to watch. I haven't seen what TV ratings are, but if TV ratings start going dead on those kind of games, then the people who are pumping the money in there are going to start saying, "Hey, look, we've had enough of this." Mm-hmm. And if they say, "Well, we can't even get the playoff approved if we don't get these Group of 5 teams," to say, "Okay, that's a pretty good format. We'll take that." So I don't know. We headed toward a Power 4 playoff, and then the Group of 5s are going to have their own playoff. I don't know. TV might not support that. Who knows?
I just think that, if you're going to have a playoff, let's get the best teams. And I'm not, we talked about this yesterday. I'm not a Notre Dame apologist by any stretch, but Notre Dame deserved to be in over Tulane and James Madison. I think
Vanderbilt did too.
And Vanderbilt did too. And probably some others. The thing that, A&M, if you're looking at them, I mean, I've got to wonder, and I don't know how much it affects you in the offseason, but I mean, you have a great season up until you play your arch rival, and then you lose to them again for the second year in a row since the rivalry started back. And then you think you're going to make the SEC championship game, and you don't make it. Then you go lose in the first round of the playoff. I mean, that's, after having a great year.
Yeah, it's got to be frustrating. But as I said, look at who they played. Now you might not realize it at the time, but they had some problems in that roster, and they weren't uncovered because of the caliber of teams they were playing. When you're playing Arkansas, when you're playing Mississippi State, when you're playing Florida and Kentucky, I mean, they're having a down year. Mm-hmm. Okay, Auburn was a good football team with a terrible record, and South Carolina was a good football team with a terrible record. But those others I named they just weren't very good this year. And hell, they played Missouri, LSU. They were down this year. They weren't a real good team. So probably their offense might have looked a little better at times, and they didn't realize. I don't mean to pick on him too much because they got other issues, but Marcel Reed he's just not that level of quarterback. I don't think. I mean, if I'm them, I'm getting in the portal and find me a quarterback if you got so much money.
No, there's no question. Now, speaking of quarterbacks, it's widely assumed. I mean, South Florida's quarterback hit the portal yesterday. He's got 1 year of eligibility left. As a high school player, he was a 3-star, and now he's as a transfer, he's rated 4-star. He's played for Golesh at South Florida. Most people expect that he's going to transfer to Auburn. Now I think a lot of people on our side are a little bit, I don't want to say panicked, but certainly concerned because you've had 20 plus players hit the portal. But I think what people are missing a little bit is, just because Auburn players are hitting the portal, other people's players are hitting the portal too. So just because you lose somebody doesn't mean you're not going to get somebody just as good.
Well, I mean, it's very normal if you weren't recruited, or if you were recruited by a guy and he leaves, it might have been that you wanted to play in that system. It might have been that you picked between him and another coach that you had confidence in or whatever. So, I mean, that is not unusual at all. It's more unusual if you hang on to all but about 2 or 3 of your players on a coaching turnover. That'd be very unusual. And sometimes that might not be a good idea. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. They may have to put a little more time in the portal this year than they want to, but I wouldn't be worried about that.
Well, and it could be like Colorado. I mean, I was talking to a coach out there the other day, and I mean, they're expecting 50 plus, maybe as many as 60 to hit the portal.
Yeah.
You talk about a mess. I mean, they've got one on their hands out there.
Well, is anything to it? I mean, I've heard because of the health, he's seriously considering going ahead and retiring.
I mean, he could. I mean, the people on staff don't think he will, but I think he keeps things pretty close to the vest. He lost one of his coaches this past week. Went to Nevada as the coordinator. But he's got. I mean, it's from what I'm told, between the players, but the way he treats the players and the way he treats the coaches, nobody really wants to be around there. And it's just I don't think he works very hard, and they just roll guys out of there. I mean, it's just. It's a mess. About what you'd expect.
Well, I mean, I can't believe it. The media said it was the greatest thing that ever happened in college football. He finally got a big time job.
I know. Hey, I had people calling me, 3 years ago, saying, "Hey, need to hire Dion. Need to hire Dion." And I said,
"Oh yeah,
that's not going. First of all, that's not going to happen. And second of all, it doesn't need to happen."
It needs to. I mean, look, when you haven't ever done it before, all this damn hype and stuff. I mean, come on.
What do you see? So in the second round games, we talked about Oregon, Texas Tech, Alabama, Indiana. You got a rematch of Georgia and Ole Miss.
Well, I think that the one is Oregon, Texas Tech. I think one's possibly the biggest winner from the first round. But we'll see. I mean, they're not going to just put a bunch of points on Texas Tech unless they get it by turnovers. But I think the Alabama-Indiana game has a chance to be a big surprise. Mm-hmm. But I would pick Indiana. I would pick Oregon. I'd pick Georgia and pick Ohio State. And the other thing, though, I'm not so sure on Ohio State. Miami's got the better quarterback of the two.
They do.
And they've got a running game. And, they ran it on Texas A&M, who is not a good run defense. The reason their rushing stats are not terrible rush defense stats is because they get a lot of sacks. But they're not a good run defense. So I'm a little concerned that Miami run game we saw, it may not be quite as effective against Ohio State. So if it's not, then they're going to be able to put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. So I don't know, but we saw Ohio State against Indiana, and if you can get some pressure on that saying, he's sort of like Marcel Reed, in my opinion. He hadn't been tested a whole lot this year, and when he was, it wasn't real consistent. So I think this week has a chance to be really good. This last round, I think when we knew it was going to be, I think it was a lot of boring football. And even the teams that were competitive, there was a lot of bad plays that turned the game more so than big plays and great plays, especially that damn Oklahoma game. But this time, there's some good matchups, man. I think there'll be really good games.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, Oregon, Texas Tech has a chance to be sneaky good. I mean, most people, Oregon's really good. I mean, and Texas Tech, for a team that traditionally, Mike Leach and those kind of guys are there. They typically come out and throw it around and beat you with offense, but they've got as good a defense. I mean, that front seven. I mean, they're damn good now. I mean,
and it's no fluke, and it's not scheduled. They were good against some good teams. I think that I'm concerned about they don't have enough balance, in the offense, and if they can't, do their part, either get some extended drives, get points up to the 20s or something like that, it's going to be hard for the defense to hold up that long.
I've got Oregon, but it wouldn't shock me if Texas Tech won.
Yeah. Now, I think they're the only team from the first round that is favored. Is that right? I think Oregon's a 1.5 favorite.
Oregon's a 1.5 favorite.
The rest of them, the by team is a favorite. They got Indiana favored by about 5, I think.
Indiana's up 6.5 now.
6.5.
Georgia's 6.5, and Ohio State's 9.5. I'm not sure I'm taking. I'm not sure I'm taking any of those.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't know which way to bet on them. I think those are all good spreads, and I think they're going to be good games.
How do you see Georgia and Ole Miss breaking down?
I think Georgia's playing some of their best football in the last 3 or 4 weeks, and it would not shock me if they beat them double digits. Ole Miss is good enough to win the game, but I don't think Georgia's the same Georgia team that Ole Miss played back during the regular season. I'll tell you that little statistic that the analytics guy does, and said in 26 years, the team that won the national championship was either in the top 3 on offensive scoring efficiency or defensive scoring efficiency, or both. Georgia ain't even close to either. But the last 3 weeks, I bet if you could separate that across the nation, the last 3 or 4 weeks, I bet Georgia is playing top 3 football on defense. And offensively, they've gotten better too, because Stockton is having a little more success throwing the ball downfield. And added to what they could already do, they're pretty balanced on offense. And their defense is playing a lot better than they did the first of the year. Damn check.
We had a little technical difficulty, but we're back. So we were in the middle of talking about Georgia and Ole Miss. I agree with you. We were talking about, Georgia may not have been the best team in the country 7 weeks ago, but they may be now.
Yeah, I think they won a lot of ball games early in the season, just mental toughness and overcoming being behind and overcoming some tight ball games. These last 3 or 4 weeks, I mean, especially defensively, they've been playing as good as anybody. So I kind of like their track. I think they'll beat Ole Miss. I'm not going to say how badly. I think they might beat them worse than people think. But I like that. And I really think the team that catch, if they do, is probably going to be Ohio State. But they're going to be coming off a pretty tough match with Miami. Mm-hmm. And could be either one of them. But I feel like Ohio State might win this one. And I think Georgia's got a defense that can affect that quarterback. So I kind of like their track as good as anybody's right now for this coming week and on out. And then I think the rest of them are going to be really, really fun to see what happens.
Well, and you see, I mean, you got Miami and Ohio State playing in the Cotton Bowl, and then Ole Miss and Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, Alabama and Indiana in the Rose Bowl, and then Oregon, Texas Tech in the Orange Bowl. So I'm not sure that any of those are going to have any difference in the game.
No, I wouldn't think so. And the two teams that weren't competitive, of course, they had to travel, and they got beat. But the games that were competitive last week, the home team lost, and the situations they were in were pretty. I mean, Kyle Field's a huge advantage. The noise, and they lost. And then out at Oklahoma, I thought that might be the difference in the game. Alabama's got no running game, and the wind's gusting out there 25 miles an hour at times. It affected the field goal kicking. But Ty Simpson did a great job. I mean, if you pick up his stats, they don't just blow you away. But, Ryan, you run for 28 yards, and you can beat Oklahoma at Oklahoma. I mean, it's just amazing. They never had a turnover. And just did the things they had to do to win, and Oklahoma did the things to beat themselves. But the home field wasn't that big of a deal for them on either one of them. I think I'd like to see them go ahead to 16 teams and cut out, like you said, cut out the guarantees of somebody getting in. I wouldn't guarantee anybody to get in from any conference. Seed them up. Yeah, seed them up, and I'd kind of get them back to an old BCS type formula and get off of this human committee. And I'm not big on the buys first round. And I think sometimes you say, well, hey, would you rather get a bye or would you rather have a home game in front of your fans, one more home? Hell, 90% of your program will say, I'd like to play a home game, especially if
Well,
you got a team coming in that you can beat. So I
well,
don't know. I think there's a lot of things they got to do. I didn't mean to get off on the format, but they could. I just don't like the way the thing's set up right now. But I think this week, I hope and I think this next round, not this week, but this next round, I think it's going to be 4 really, really good ball games.
yeah, I would agree with you. And I think at some point, probably in the next contract, if you're going to have the conference championship games, and I think they're important, especially in the SEC. But you got to have a play-in game, whether it's Notre Dame playing James Madison or Tulane or whatever. Have a play-in game. So whoever wins this game is in the playoff. Versus, okay, we're going to put a committee and we're going to pick who. I mean, look, if it's down to 4 or 5 teams, and then have a play-in. I mean, if you don't make the conference championship game, why should you get an off week?
Yep. That's right. I mean, I think that's a good point. And last year, it was proved out to be really helpful for teams that didn't play that week. I don't think any of the conference champions got past the first or second round, whatever they played. But yeah, there's so many things they could do to fix it, I guess. But I don't know. I get sometimes you argue about something and it makes sense, but then you find out later on why they can't do it that way. Because I don't think you can have a playoff unless you can get all the teams involved to vote for it, all the conferences involved, and the group of fives have just as many votes as the Power Fours. Now they got more.
And Notre Dame having a guarantee if they're in the top 12, let Notre Dame go play in a conference. I mean,
I agree with that. I mean, for many reasons.
Yeah, I mean, why should Notre Dame get to play 3 service academies and Stanford and Michigan State and call it a day and make the playoff because you're in the top 12? I mean, they had Texas A&M. Okay, great. I mean, go play Texas A&M and LSU and Alabama and Auburn and Florida and see how it comes out.
Well, as they're in a scheduling agreement with the ACC too. That's how they end up with Stanford. Well, they might have played Stanford back through history, but I think it's 5 games a year. They're guaranteed to play in the ACC, and the ACC let them do that. And then they got the other sports in the ACC. So I don't know. I'm tired of. I can understand back with Army and Navy and Syracuse and Pittsburgh and Penn State and hell, there were a lot of independents. When I coached at Southern Miss for 2 years in the late 80s, we were independent. And all those schools, we kind of had a little consortium. It was East Carolina, Southern Miss, Southeast USL, Miami. I mean, we were all independent. And Florida State was until not recently before that. But then they got into ACC. But being independent wasn't that big of a deal for many years. But then when they finally started in conference stuff, where the conferences started getting leverage on having their own TV packages and all that kind of thing, so everybody started moving toward conferences. Hell, I think Army's been in and out 3 times. They'd get in a conference and didn't like it. They'd get out of the conference and they'd find out, that was a pretty good deal, and they'd get back in the conference. I think they've been in 2 or 3 different conferences in the last 25 years. But the service academies are different. And I could see if they didn't want to be in the conference because they got all kind of different rules and different things. But even them, they probably found out, hey, life out here ain't so good. We need to get in a conference. And I mean, Oklahoma, somebody told me the other day, and he knows a little bit about Notre Dame because he used to coach up there many years ago. But he said the rumor was that Marcus was very interested in that Michigan job because he was tired of this kind of stuff happening to him. And he didn't go because of all the administrative mess that they're in.
Well, I think he's interested in the NFL, and same thing with Sark. I mean, I pulled up Notre Dame's schedule here. So they opened up with 2 losses, Miami and A&M. And this is the rest of their schedule. Purdue, Arkansas, Boise State, NC State, USC, Boston College, Navy, Pitt, Syracuse, and Stanford. They don't deserve to be in the playoff.
No, I mean, they were kind of like Georgia, though. They were playing their best football, in the last half of the season. There's no doubt about that. They had their 2 losses were the first 2 games, weren't they?
They were, yeah.
Very first 2 games. And then you called out one other team right after Purdue. Who was it?
Let's see. They played
NC State, I think.
Well, they played Arkansas, Boise State, NC State.
Well, NC State was not a real good team at that time. Now, later in the year, they were. But you're right. I mean, that is not a Notre Dame schedule, But hell, if they get into Big Ten, Ronnie, it's going to look similar.
Well, no, you're right. I mean, this is their 2020. Let's see. This is Georgia's. If I can find it here. This is Georgia's 2026 schedule. So they've got. I'll hit the high points, but they start out Tennessee State, Western Kentucky, at Arkansas, Oklahoma, Vandy, at Alabama, Auburn, Florida, at Ole Miss, Missouri, at South Carolina, and Georgia Tech. Now, Notre Dame's not losing 2 games against that schedule, I don't think. I mean, I think they're losing more than that. Maybe not, but
yeah,
I
think you got an excellent point. And I just don't the whole principle of it. They ought to have to get in the conference. And if other schools would quit accommodating them, they'd have to do it.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree 100%. Well, before we go, after the first week, who's your pick? So we got what, 8 teams left? We got 8 teams left. Who's your is it still Indiana?
I'm leaning to Oregon. Early on, I was kind of on Texas Tech, but I'm gonna lean on Oregon, Indiana, Georgia, and Ohio State.
What about to finish it off? Who you got?
Geez, that'd be hard to predict. Not even seeing them how they play this weekend. Hell, they might win and still look like crap. You don't want to pick them, but I think going forward, who would you get? You have Oregon playing Indiana. Indiana will not beat them twice in 1 year. So I'd put Oregon, and I think it's going to be Georgia. I think Georgia's going to be able to get to the championship game. So it could be Georgia and Oregon, and I'd take Georgia.
That's who I've got. I've got Georgia. I just think that, and like I say, I don't think they're the best team in the country midway through the season, but I think they might be now.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that the two big things you have to look at, and if you got those, then you start comparing all the other stuff. But you got to look at quarterbacks and defense. If you miss in either one of those, you ain't even got a chance. But if you got those 2, and you don't have to have the best one, but you got to have one that's good enough to put up with this kind of stuff. Okay, I think Oregon's got a quarterback. I don't know about Texas Tech. I think Alabama's got one. I think Indiana's got a great one. I think Ole Miss has got one. Georgia's got one. Miami's got one. And Ohio State's got one. But I think he's the first one I would say out of all those. Texas Tech is one that's probably going to have help. And I think saying he has to have people play around him really good.
He's limited. He's limited.
Yep. Now you go back. Oregon's got defense. I don't think they're dominant, but Texas Tech's got a dominant defense. Alabama's defense is playing top 5 in the nation now. Indiana's been good statistically. Ole Miss has been better lately. They were real good the other day, but they didn't play anybody. I mean, Georgia's got a really good defense playing good now. Miami played great the other day. Ohio State's got a hell of a defense. So that's what I say. It's going to be a hell of a finish because I think all of them have the ingredients you got to have a shot to win it all. And the biggest thing I would say, just looking at them right now, I'm just not sure that the Texas Tech offense has got enough weapons to elevate that quarterback. And that would be the only one that jumps at me. The rest of them, on any given day, you better be ready to play because they got quarterbacks and they got defense.
No, I agree with you. It should be a fun second round. Well, it was good to be with you again today. And for those listening, have a great Christmas. And I guess we'll see you next week.